I watched a woman walk out of a salon last Tuesday absolutely devastated because she asked for a bob and the stylist gave her exactly what she asked for. The problem? There are 17 different types of bobs, and what she got looked nothing like the picture in her head. What she should have said takes about 10 extra seconds, and I'm about to save you from the same heartbreak because the language you use in that salon chair determines everything. Hello my beautiful friends. Welcome back to Glow at Any Age, where we believe that great style doesn't require a trust fund and looking fabulous has absolutely no expiration date. If you're new here, you've just found your judgment-free zone for real beauty and style advice that actually works for real women. We don't do complicated salon speak or pretentious beauty rules here. Just honest conversations about looking and feeling amazing without the financial stress. Today we're fixing something that's been frustrating so many of you, and judging by your comments, this communication breakdown with hairstylists is costing you time, money, and confidence. Before we dive into this, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now, and here's why it matters. When you subscribe and turn on notifications, you never miss these tips that can literally save you from expensive hair mistakes. And the algorithm is a funny thing. When you comment, like, and engage, YouTube shows this video to more women who desperately need this information. So drop a comment right now telling me about your worst haircut miscommunication. What did you ask for versus what you got? I read every single comment, and your stories help other women realize they're not alone in this struggle. Let's talk about what's really happening when you sit in that salon chair and ask for a bob. Your stylist hears one thing, you mean something completely different, and you both think you're on the same page until that final mirror reveal. Then comes that sinking feeling when you realize this is not what you wanted, but you smile and say it looks great because confrontation feels awkward and maybe you're wrong and maybe it'll grow on you. Spoiler alert. It won't. Here's what nobody tells you. The word bob is essentially meaningless in professional hair language. It's like walking into a restaurant and saying you want food. Well, yes, but what kind? A bob can be chin length or shoulder length. It can have layers or be blunt cut. It can angle forward or be completely even all around. It can have bangs or no bangs. It can be textured or sleek. You see the problem? The women who walk out of salons absolutely loving their hair aren't lucky. They're specific. They know the exact language to use, the precise details to mention, and the right questions to ask. And that's exactly what I'm teaching you today. This isn't about memorizing complicated hair terminology. This is about knowing 5 simple things to communicate that will transform your salon experience forever. Let me paint you a picture of what happens in your stylist's mind when you say you want a bob. They're immediately running through their mental catalog of every bob they've ever cut. The mom bob, the Karen bob, the French bob, the blunt bob, the layered bob, the inverted bob, the A-line bob, the stacked bob. And they're making assumptions based on your face shape, your hair texture, what they think will suit you, and what's currently trending. But here's the thing. What's trending and what actually flatters mature hair are often two completely different things. A textured choppy bob might look amazing on a 25-year-old with thick hair. But on finer hair that's lost some density, it can look scraggly and unkempt. A blunt heavy bob might photograph beautifully on Instagram, but if you have a round face or a shorter neck, it can actually make you look wider and older. So when you just say bob, you're basically handing over complete creative control to someone who doesn't live in your head, doesn't know your lifestyle, and might be more focused on creating an Instagram-worthy cut than giving you something you can actually style at home every morning. Alright, here's where we fix this. Instead of saying I want a bob, you're going to walk in with 5 specific pieces of information. Don't worry, this isn't complicated. You're not learning a new language. You're just being clear about what you actually want. First, you need to be crystal clear about length, and here's how you do it without any confusion. Point to the exact spot on your neck, jaw, or shoulder where you want the hair to end. Don't estimate. Don't say chin length and hope they interpret that correctly. Put your finger right on your face and say, I want it to end exactly here. Here's why this matters so much for us. As we age, certain lengths become more flattering than others. Hair that hits right at your jawline can actually create a lifting effect and draw attention to your eyes. Hair that ends at your chin can sometimes emphasize jowls if you're starting to develop them. Hair that sits on your shoulders can look matronly if it's not cut with the right shape. The sweet spot for most women over 60 is what I call the earlobe to jaw zone. It's long enough to tuck behind your ears, short enough to not require extensive styling, and it hits at a point that creates natural face framing. But you might prefer longer or shorter based on your neck length, face shape, and personal style. The point is, you decide and you communicate it precisely. Next, you need to tell them about the angle, and this is where most communication breaks down completely. When hair professionals talk about angle, they mean whether the front pieces are longer than the back pieces, shorter than the back pieces, or exactly the same length all the way around. An angled bob where the front is longer than the back creates a slimming effect and draws the eye forward to your face. This is generally the most flattering option for mature faces because it creates movement and dimension. The back can be shorter and stacked for volume, while the front pieces elongate your face. A reverse angle, where the back is longer than the front, is almost never flattering on mature women. It can make your head look oddly shaped, and it's incredibly difficult to style. A blunt even perimeter where everything is the same length can look very chic and sophisticated, but it requires thick, healthy hair to pull off. If your hair is fine or thinning, this cut will expose every sparse spot and lack of density. So here's what you say. I want the front pieces longer than the back, angled to create face framing. Or if you prefer, I want everything the same length all the way around for a clean blunt edge. See how specific that is? Now let's talk about layers because this is where things get really important for mature hair. Layers are not just about style. They're about creating the illusion of volume and movement in hair that might be thinning or losing its natural body. But here's the catch. The wrong layers can make thin hair look even thinner. If your stylist cuts short, choppy layers throughout, you'll end up with stringy, separated pieces that emphasize how fine your hair is. What you want are long, subtle layers that create movement without removing weight. Here's the exact phrase. I want long layers for movement, but I want to keep the weight and density. Nothing short or choppy. If your stylist suggests heavy layering or thinning out your hair, that's a red flag. Thinning shears are generally not your friend after 60, unless you have exceptionally thick, coarse hair. The exception is if you want specific face framing layers around your eyes and cheekbones. These can be slightly shorter to create that lifting effect we talked about. But the overall bulk of your hair should maintain its weight. Texture is about whether you want a smooth, polished finish or something more piecewise and modern. This decision should be based entirely on your lifestyle and your ability to style your hair at home. If you're someone who blow dries and uses a round brush regularly, you can handle a smoother, blunt texture. If you prefer to wash and go or you have naturally wavy hair, you want texture cut into the end so it dries with natural movement. Here's what most women don't realize. A heavily textured cut looks effortless in the salon when a professional styles it. At home, it can look messy and unkempt if you don't know how to work with it. A smooth, blunt cut might seem boring, but it's incredibly versatile and easy to style. My recommendation for most women? Ask for subtle texture on the ends only. Not throughout, just on the bottom inch or two. This gives you movement and prevents that heavy, blunt look, but it doesn't require advanced styling skills. Say this. I want subtle texture on the ends for movement, but I want to maintain a polished finish that I can style easily at home. This last one is the most important and the most overlooked. You need to tell your stylist exactly how much time and skill you have for daily styling. Be honest. If you're not going to blow dry your hair every single day, say that. If you don't own a round brush, mention it. If you need something that looks good air dried, make that clear. Too many women leave the salon with a cut that looks incredible when the stylist does it. Then they get home and can't recreate it. That's not your failure. That's a communication failure. Say this before they even start cutting. I need a cut that looks good with minimal styling. I'm not going to blow dry this every day, so show me what it will look like when I just wash and let it dry naturally. A good stylist will appreciate this honesty and adjust their approach accordingly. Quick pause here. If this is making sense and you're realizing how much miscommunication you've had in the past, give this video a thumbs up. And seriously, drop a comment right now telling me which of these 5 specifics you've never communicated before. I'm willing to bet most of you have never mentioned the styling reality part, and that's the one that matters most. Also, if you're getting value from this, share it with a friend who's complained about bad haircuts. We're all in this together. Okay, so now you know the 5 specifics. Let's put this into a real conversation you can actually have. Here's what it sounds like when you walk into that salon. I want a bob style cut, but let me be specific about what I mean. I want the length to end right here. and you point to your jawbone. I want the front pieces longer than the back for face framing, with the back slightly shorter for volume. I want long subtle layers for movement, but I need to keep the weight and density, nothing choppy. I want subtle texture on just the ends for a polished but not stiff finish. And here's the important part. I'm not going to blow dry this every day, so I need to see what it looks like air dried before you finish. See how different that is from just saying I want a bob? You've just given your stylist a complete roadmap of exactly what you want and exactly what your expectations are. Now let's talk about photos, because I know many of you bring in pictures, and that's great, but you need to use them correctly. Don't just show a photo and say I want this. Photos are helpful for showing style and vibe, but they can also be misleading. That woman in the photo might have completely different hair texture than you. She might have a different face shape. She definitely has a professional styling team and perfect lighting. So use the photo as a starting point for conversation, not as an exact blueprint. Say this: I love the length and the general shape of this cut. Can we adapt it for my hair texture and face shape? A good stylist will look at that photo, look at your hair, and tell you honestly what's achievable and what might need to be modified. And here's a pro tip. Bring multiple photos showing different angles of the same haircut if possible. Front view, side view, back view. This eliminates so much guessing and interpretation. Here's something that will change your entire salon experience. Demand a proper consultation before any scissors touch your hair. Not a quick chat while you're getting shampooed. A real consultation where you're sitting in the chair, your hair is dry, and you have your stylist's full attention. During this consultation, use all 5 of your specifics. Have them repeat back to you what they're planning to do. If anything sounds different from what you asked for, clarify immediately. This is not being difficult. This is being a smart consumer who's about to spend money on a service. And here's the magic question that separates good stylists from mediocre ones. Based on my hair texture and face shape, is there anything about this cut that won't work for me? A great stylist will be honest. They'll tell you if your hair is too fine for a certain style, or if a particular length won't flatter your features. A mediocre stylist will just say yes to everything you want even if they know it won't work. Let's address the elephant in the room. What do you do if you're sitting there watching it happen and it's not what you asked for? You speak up immediately. Don't wait until the end. Don't be polite and quiet and hope it gets better. Say this calmly and clearly. I'm noticing the length is shorter than where I pointed. Can we check in about that? Or the layers seem more choppy than the long subtle layers we discussed. Can we talk about that? Most problems happen because the client doesn't speak up until it's too late. It's much easier to correct course midway than to fix a finished cut. And if your stylist gets defensive or dismissive when you politely point out a discrepancy, that tells you everything you need to know about whether you should return. Now I know some of you are thinking this all sounds great for expensive salons, but what about budget-friendly options? Here's the truth. These communication techniques work everywhere. Whether you're paying $30 or $300, being specific about what you want improves your outcome. If you're going to a budget salon, these specifics become even more important because you might not have the same level of expertise. The more direction you provide, the less room there is for interpretation or error. And here's a money-saving secret. Once you find a stylist who understands your hair and listens to your specifics, stick with them. Building a relationship with one stylist means they learn your hair, they remember what works, and each subsequent cut gets better. Salon hopping and starting over each time costs you more in the long run, both in money and in bad haircuts. Getting the right cut is only half the battle. You need to maintain it properly at home, and this is where most women struggle. The cut you walk out with today will look completely different in 6 weeks if you don't maintain it. Here's what you need to ask before you leave that salon. How often do I need to come back to maintain this shape? For most bob-style cuts, it's every 6 to 8 weeks. If you let it go longer, you lose the shape and the style falls apart. Also ask, what products do I actually need to style this at home? Don't let them sell you 7 products. Ask for the essential 2 or 3 items that will help you recreate the look. Usually that's a good volumizing mousse or spray for lift at the roots, and either a smoothing cream or a texturizing spray depending on your desired finish. Here's what I want you to understand. Walking into a salon and clearly communicating what you want isn't being demanding or difficult. It's being a smart consumer who values their time, money, and appearance. You wouldn't order food at a restaurant without specifying how you want it cooked. You shouldn't get your hair cut without specifying exactly what you want. The stylists who appreciate detailed communication are the ones you want cutting your hair anyway. The ones who get frustrated by questions or specifics are showing you they prefer you just sit quietly and let them do whatever they want. That's not a partnership, and your hair deserves better. So let's recap what you're never saying again. You're never walking in and just asking for a bob. Instead, you're giving 5 specifics: exact length with your finger pointing to the spot, the angle you want with front versus back clarification, the type of layers you want or don't want, the texture and finish you're going for, and the honest reality of your styling routine. You're bringing photos for inspiration but not as exact blueprints. You're demanding a proper consultation before any cutting begins. You're speaking up during the cut if something feels off. And you're asking the right questions about maintenance and home styling before you leave. This approach works whether you're spending $30 or $300. It works for any hair type, any face shape, any style preference. The only thing it requires is you being willing to speak up and advocate for yourself in that salon chair. If this completely changed how you think about communicating with your stylist, please share this video with friends who've had bad haircut experiences. We've all been there. And this information can save someone from their next hair disaster. Drop a comment telling me what you're going to say differently at your next appointment. I read every comment and I love hearing how these tips work for you in real life. Subscribe if you haven't already, because next week we're talking about the biggest hair color mistakes women make after 60 and exactly how to fix them. You definitely want to catch that. Until then, remember that great hair isn't about luck or expensive salons. It's about knowing how to communicate what you want. Keep glowing at any age, and I'll see you in the next video.